So the first place that junk email can go in Microsoft Outlook is in the junk email folder, and that's created by default. When email arrives, by default, it arrives to your inbox unless you've got a rule that overrides it. And if Microsoft's 365 service thinks that it might be spam or it might be phishing or it matches some of the rules that you've previously sent about mail that you don't want to have, it'll flow into your junk email folder, which is always accessible directly in Microsoft Outlook in your folder list. I've put a couple of sample junk email messages in here to start with. Now, granted, none of these are actually spam or phishing. I moved them out of the inbox, but I can still demonstrate what this looks like. Anything that's in the junk email folder, I can come here and after I review it, I can right click on it and say junk. And I can say, look, I never want to block this sender. Maybe this particular sender, the sales and marketing address is constantly going to my junk email. I can say never block the sender, and Outlook will stop just for my mailbox blocking that, and it will start delivering those messages into my inbox. I can also say never block the sender's domain, which means that everybody at this sender's organization doesn't get blocked. Maybe I'm corresponding to 5 different people at that particular organization, and I want to make sure none of them go into junk email. I can right click and say never block that sender. Alternatively, if I'm looking at a message, I can say, look, that's not junk. And if I do that, it moves it back automatically to my inbox folder. Now, one thing that you'll also notice is that when it's in my inbox, all these graphics rendered. One of the things that Outlook does automatically is in the junk email folder, graphics don't show by default. And that's because web bugs are used often in email messages to tell whether or not you've viewed the message or whether you've opened the message. And if this really is junk email or whether it's spam, we don't want to give that indication and data back to whoever actually sent the message to tell them that you really received it. So the junk email folder by default disables all these links that appear in the email and it disables all the graphics that appear in that email. If a message arrives in my inbox and it really is junk email, it's clearly something that's not legitimate. There's no unsubscribe link. It's not from a group that I'd recognize. And I do want to categorize it as junk email just for myself. I can always just right click on it and say junk, and I can say block that sender. It's just going to take that message and move that particular message into my junk email. Go to junk email, that's where it is. If for any reason I miscategorized it, I can always come back in here, right click, say junk, never block that sender. He's going to go back to my inbox. So that's the junk email folder, and that's the first place that you go as an individual to manage your email preferences. If the message arrived in your inbox and it really is a legitimate sender, rather than mark it as junk email, the better thing to do is actually use the unsubscribe link that's on the message. But you only want to do that on things that clearly are legitimate services or people that you've signed up that have your email address because of something you've done in the past, not just because they're trying to do unsolicited email to you.